This video is sponsored by Bityard. With over 400 cryptocurrencies to choose from on their spot exchange, dozens of USDT pairs for futures trading, perpetual coin futures, trade commodities like gold, silver and oil, Forex, and major indices like Nasdaq. You can buy crypto from Bityard with over 50 different fiat currencies using Visa, MasterCard, Google or Apple Pay. If you like, you can use their copy trade facility, follow other traders who will execute trades on your behalf, or become a copy trader yourself. So if you want a bit of that, click the link in the description. Hello everybody and welcome back. We're going to have a look at 5 shitcoins of the century. Now if you're looking to make sort of like 100x gains and things like that, I would suggest you're probably better off doing fundamental research into projects that probably are just in their infancy. That's normally the best way to make hundreds of X's, you know. But I don't generally do that for the most part, and that in itself can be a massive gamble. For me, it's always about charts, and sometimes they do yield 100x, sometimes they only yield 10, sometimes they do less than 4, but at the end of the day, that's my style. It's on a risk to reward basis, and that's my preference. So we're going to look at these 5 shitcoins, and I'm going to call them the shitcoins of the century. And don't be upset when I call them that. Like, we've traded these on the channel. I trade these. Yeah, I call them shitcoins because well, there's a reason. Mostly because the volume is so low and they're so ultra wrecked, but they offer, well, they potentially offer decent returns back. Right, so just a quick overview of Bitcoin, basically the same as the last couple of days. We're at the 20 simple moving average on the weekly. That is the center of the Bollinger Band, effectively a line in the sand, coming in at 45,250 at the moment. Let's have a revisit of the daily, and currently we still, I mean, this like I said, we've been playing this penalty shootout, as I've been referring to, for a few days now. The Ichimoku cloud gave a buy signal for a continuation of a trend generated, what, 4 days ago, and you know, we were saying, look, this is a relevant signal. Like, as much as we are at resistance, pushing these resistances, it suggests that volatility is going to kick in one way or another. Now, the bears have a case by being at the 200 exponential and the 20 weekly, you know, ultimate place to short from, generally speaking. The bulls have a really strong case because these sort of signals come in far and few between. You don't really get very many of these, and when you do, these are one of my favourite, if not my overall favourite signal. Slightly contrived in the way that we had a negative cross followed by a positive cross, but it is a signal all the same. And we were just monitoring this, which is the Chiku span, making sure that it doesn't close within price action, and so far it's avoided it. So we'll see what happens. Today we still need to try and avoid it coming down. We don't want to be closing candle bodies below 44,450. If it does limit the chance of this continuing, although it certainly could, because the other way to cancel the signal out would be for this blue to cross this red, the conversion over the baseline making a negative cross. But for the moment, neither of that has happened. I mean, it's pretty, I mean, you could slide a Rizzler paper between those that little gap, but effectively the trend is still pending to begin, and you get your exit point when this cheeky span touches price action, or when this blue crosses this red. And again, it's early days yet. You know, tomorrow we could afford, you know, closures of about, you know, 43,900. The following day we could sustain candle body closures of 42,500, and then, you know, we've got a nice area down here where we could even go as low as 40,000 and still get away with this trend potentially forming and continuing. But you know, it's like I say, it's no different to yesterday. So yeah, it's nice to see that we avoided it these last few days. But we are toying with the idea of a rejection here on the 200 exponential and on the 20 weekly. So the bears have a really strong case to short from here, and the bulls obviously have a decent signal to hope for a trend to continue. So whichever way it goes is going to be pretty volatile. Now, a brief look at the total market cap excluding Bitcoin still looks relatively good. The breakout effectively took place. This doesn't mean it goes straight to the moon. This could easily just mean it accumulates. It could come all the way back down to this level here, and 930 billion easily could do that, and that would be a place where you would take some risks on altcoins just generally and blindly, looking for a bounce from a historical level of support. But for the moment, we look at, you know, we are continuing with what would appear to be a breakout, and could easily shift up to the 1.19 trillion dollar. So total market cap looking okay. Bitcoin potentially going to break out. You don't need me to tell you that it is a little bit of a gambling vibe taking place right now. So with that said, let's have a look at some shitcoins, which are the ultimate gambles. You know, it's either zero or hero with these bad boys. And again, this is just short-term stuff. I'm not saying this is perfect entry. I'm just saying risk to reward. Some of these things have come down to significant lows, and with that comes significant entry points. It does not mean at all that it will work out. So we'll start with AI. Excuse me. The main thing with AI is that it's an absolutely wrecked chart where we have high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower low, lower low. And with that, we've got nice bullish divergence forming on the RSI. We've got a positive cross, and histogram has basically been ticking up this entire way, suggesting that momentum could easily shift on this one on the long-term time frames. Now, if it did do that, given the way that the chart looks with all these lower highs, we could just be looking at one more lower high, which could bring us up to this level here. It's about 200% gain, coming up to 3.7 cents, basically. No problem, it's not a big deal. It could work out, and if it did, that would be an okay place to at least take some profit, or at least your investment out, leave the rest to ride. I'm not here to tell you what to buy. This is an absolute, pile of crap. Obviously, the chart's terrible, the trading volume is terrible, but anyone who ever pays attention to the trading volume, there's two sides to this. The fact that this trade's currently at $54,000 on a 24-hour period is pretty terrible. But if for whatever reason this decides to play this chart with the long-term bullish divergence and the consistent positive ticks on the histogram turning around on a long-term basis, if and when the money flows into this one, you're effectively at the top of the Ponzi scheme at this point, which is the best way to look at it. So whatever money comes on top of this, which will raise it to hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions on a 24-hour trading volume, then you're at the bottom of what could be a significant green candle, massive beast of a candle. Outside of that, though, if we just take it down to a 4-hourly chart, it's okay. Unlike a lot of these altcoins, which have not reclaimed the 200 exponential, or they've only just done it, this reclaimed it, got a golden cross into it, and now we're effectively we've had this pump up, and we're having a small consolidation on the short-term time frames, trying to reclaim and stay above this area, which is about 1.25%. So it's not the most amazing thing you've ever seen, but it's got a decent setup on the short-term time frames, being the 4-hourly. It's got promising signals on the long-term, being the weekly. And if it does work out over, let's just say, the rest of the year and gains momentum, starts an uptrend, this could be one of those moments where you look back in time and go, wow, if only I'd put $100 into that, because now it's done a I don't know, 1,000% or whatever it could possibly do. I'm not saying I've got any particular targets outside of that 200. To be honest with you, always expect the the smallest returns. Everything else is a bonus, which is why you take profit on the way up. At least taking your investment out, especially with something like this, which is an absolute terrible looking chart. But let's just say that it works out to this level, 600%, and that's your 10x there. And well, there's no reason to suggest that this would happen, but if we went up to that peak up there, you're talking a 22x basically. Doesn't have to happen, probably won't happen, but on a risk to reward basis for a small amount of money, because you can't trade much when the order books are so thin, might be an okay idea to put some in. Just for the record, all of these things that I'm talking about now, I have put money into these this morning, just in case, right? Just in case. Now I'm not talking mega bucks. My main focus is on Bitcoin. There is a very good chance that Bitcoin does dump from this level. Like I say, the bulls and the bears are more or less in doing a penalty shootout right now. They have just as much. There's just as much weight and evidence to suggest a direct, a big move in either direction, given what we've seen there. So a big move up and a consistent trend forming on the daily with the itchy cloud, but significant resistance out on the weekly and also on the daily. But that also would lend itself to a breakout and a significant breakout as well from those levels, because that's a huge change in behavior for Bitcoin to reclaim those zones on a daily and on a weekly. So you can understand that the move that's coming is going to be big. So I'm putting certain eggs into the same basket here by taking on extending my level of risk to the shittest coins of on my watch list. So I'm not, like I say, when I say that they're shit coins, you can understand. That's one of the main reasons. This is also one of the main reasons. It's hard to give it a name outside of a shitcoin when we have a chart that looks like this and trading volume that looks like that. But it doesn't mean that it can't, just return to its full glory and then beyond. It doesn't mean that at all. But for the moment, it's a shitcoin, so I'll leave it at that. I know people get upset when I say that. OMI, right, so this used to be one of my favourite little buys, and bought it down here actually, so more or less at the entry point that I began over here, and never actually took any profit from this one, because I was, some of these things I'm just happy to leave to ride. We were talking about this on the stream when we came up to these levels. I said, look, we have all the indications of a breakout from this level, despite the market not looking like it wants to do anything. And then somebody told me effectively why it's holding its value, which was there was some kind of movement from, I think they were moving from one chain to the Ethereum chain, and with that comes more opportunities down the line for trading pairs and exchange listings and things like this. And so I was like, oh, okay, right, so it's one of those buy the rumor, sell the news type events. And so even though we did expect it to dump, didn't take any profit on this one, just left it to ride, and now it's back down to effectively my entry points, just above my entry point. I'm looking to well, I've already stocked up on this one. Outside of that, though, the chart looks pretty awful. There's nothing on the chart which is endearing on the weekly. Just take it down to a daily, and we'll have a quick gander at this one. So with the daily, we do have bullish divergence on the RSI. The trading volume's really decreased. We looked at this on Friday, and it was double that. Which again, there is opportunity when trading volume dwindles down, but again, you're taking on extreme risk with these sort of things because they are trading so low. It doesn't take much for you to basically see a huge dump. Again, these aren't, when I'm looking for Bitcoin to do its breakout, I'm looking for the market to be carried as one, but I'm not particularly looking for any of these to outperform Bitcoin in the long term, in the short term. On a long term though, if Bitcoin does reclaim those zones, it adds more weight to the idea that altcoins can actually do some serious rallies, and we'll probably form an alt season a little bit further down the line, and getting into these entry points, which could be the absolute lows or close to them, would be very rewarding when that rotation takes place. So again, I'm not looking for these to moon before Bitcoin or even outperform Bitcoin consistently. I'm looking to catch some particularly interesting lows. I've been saying for a few weeks now that altcoins, a lot of them are at mouth-watering lows, and although we can't guarantee that they can't fall through the floor and go down by another 50% or even more, they're still quite attractive at these levels, and this is one of them. So again, we've got bullish divergence forming on that RSI, but outside of that, we're basically being rejected on every moving average that we come up to, really. Mostly the 10, massive rejection. We had a little bit of dance around the Bollinger Band, then it's back to the 10 again. It's not having a good time. But we do have the bullish divergence, so it could be that we're looking to bounce. And again, this is more or less a historical level of significance, just short of 0.3 of a cent. If that breaks down, we've got 0.22 of a cent. Again, a big drop, but significant lows. What we see here, bullish divergence on the RSI on the 4-hourly, turning down now, so it does look like a little bit of a pullback is required. Bollinger Bands are pinching a little bit. Looks like we do have on the 4-hourly an ascending channel kind of vibe going on here, which would lend itself to actually it breaking down from here before breaking out. Again, I'm not in this for any kind of quick kind of turnaround. Just wanted to add more to my already existing position, but with this kind of setup, we would normally expect a breakdown. And again, the MACD does favour a breakdown, so does the volume. Everything kind of does favour a breakdown. So if you wanted to sit and wait to see how low this one goes, I can understand that. But for me, you've got to be in it to win it, and see where you go from there. So there's OMI, that's done. Now, one of the worst performers of what I don't really understand why it's so bad. This trades with fiat pairs on Coinbase Pro. It's on Coinbase as well. It's all over the place. Never catching a break is RLY. Never catches a break. Huge descending triangle. We thought there was a descending triangle here. It broke down from there. Now we come down to the absolute bottom, which corresponds to effectively the absolute low on this chart here. And again, while you're in one of these descending channels, descending triangles, sorry, they usually should be viewed as a no trade zone, and if you're looking for an instant gratification on the trade, that's how you would see it. If you think about what we really see here, we've got move to the top, rejection here, and a further rejection from here after this huge massive move. Now this massive move, from what I understand, it was just accepted onto another exchange, But because the trading volume at the time was the same as AI's was now, it was trading so low, about $50,000 in a 24-hour period, really low. Order books being extremely thin. So when actually money came back into it, and it wasn't much, the trading volume went up to a couple of million in a 24-hour trading day. So it wasn't an enormous amount in comparison to what things usually trade at on Binance on a day-to-day basis. You know, it was still pretty low. But it caused an enormous breakout, and all the way up to the top. So effectively an 80% move, and that's as a direct result of order books being thin, trading volume being low, and then suddenly money coming in. So if we're expecting altcoins to effectively follow this, which is a breakout and away, and we've seen this in the past. I'll turn off this indicator so we can see. We've seen this pretty much every other time in the past. So big move up, consolidation, breakout, big move up, consolidation, breakout, big move up, consolidation, breakout. We would like to think that that's the same kind of thing that's going on right now. So, you know, this is the altcoin market as a whole, all lumped into one. Some will move, some won't move, some go crazy, some go static. It's just an overview, a basic overview of what could potentially happen, which is effectively the flow of money coming back into altcoins. So with that said, you know, we recognize that when money comes back in, things go crazy, and if this goes crazy, breaks out of its descending triangle and then starts to form an uptrend, then it probably would go absolutely crazy. This trades on, you know, all kinds of places. It's not on Binance, but it's actually on Coinbase. You know, it's on Coinbase, and it's wrecked city. It might never work out. Do you know what I mean? It might never work out. It's one of the, I'll probably say it might be the shittest one here, to be honest with you. But what we see is effectively bullish divergence form, just like all the others. We see a positive cross about to move over to the 0 point, low trading volume. Again, you know, got to be in it to win it. Again, all of these things that I'm talking about, they're trading extremely low volume. I mean, for instance, AI is so low that whatever you add to that, if you decide that you wanted to buy it, it's got to be proportionate to the 24-hour trading volume. Otherwise, you will cause a wick if you did a market buy, and you would effectively wreck yourself instantly, basically. But remember, like I say, I'll say it over and over again, these aren't, I'm not looking for these to moon immediately. I just feel like it's very tempting to get in on them at these particularly low levels. The alt season doesn't look like it's wanting to form anytime soon. Things are popping left, right and centre, but we need consistent money flow back into the market overall, and that can only really be seen, I would say, when Bitcoin gets out of this zone and climbs above 46,000 and then starts to build up from there. So Bitcoin is the main indicator. So all these charts effectively that we're looking at here, although they do offer significant lows with very tempting sell orders that you could place incrementally on the way up, making decent cash, they do offer a bit of a red herring of a chart. You know, it would appear that something's going on, but really the only thing that is going on is over here with Bitcoin. So just remember that, you know, when trading any of these altcoins. Top cap coins are slightly different. There are some better setups generally on top cap coins. You know, we saw all those on the live stream, and it kind of surprised us at which ones had the best setups. Really, there's some of the most unpopular coins that actually have really good setups. That's for another video anyway. So there's your RLY. There's really nothing more to it than tempting low levels, low volume, accepted on a lot of top exchanges, and maybe one day it'll catch a break and break out of that descending triangle. Uno. So this one had in the previously done really well for us, you know, and this is obviously, I did actually sell some on the way up, so now I'm looking to buy some on the way down, and I took the plunge just recently. And again, not particularly based on where we are sitting right now. If we look at this chart, still wrecked city, but just like all the other charts, bullish divergence form on the RSI on the daily. It's not a very old chart, so looking at the weekly is also, again, you know, a bit misleading, but we've got positive ticks on the histogram forming throughout the entire downtrend, so showing a potential shift of momentum on the long term. And again, you know, nothing really to view here on the RSI. It's too young of a chart. There's not a great deal to go by. We have to accept that it's wrecked city, and what we're looking to do here is take an educated guess that there is a low forming around these levels. Unlike other charts, you know, we're just, again, this is an example of how a lot of altcoins look at the moment. You know, this one's only just forming its golden cross on the 4 hourly. So unlike which was it, AI, which is way ahead, And again, same with a lot of other top cap coins like XRP, and there's a ton of them actually, but they're the most unsuspecting ones, the ones that would normally get people snigger and snarl when you mention their names. They have the better looking charts. Something like this doesn't really have a very good looking chart, suggesting that this is just being moved with the market at the moment. Bit of a delayed fuse. If the market continues to move to the up, then this will get carried with it, and then after then it will have by default formed a good setup, and traders might step in. Again, low volume, you know, it's not the smallest, this is relatively modest for what it is, still quite small, would suggest at the bottom of the Ponzi scheme or the top of the Ponzi scheme, if you decided to enter now, you know, when the money does flow back in, we'd be looking for this to start to move back up again, as it did quite dramatically last time. Now, we were lucky when we bought into this. I made the video on it, and then I think that a couple of days later it actually started this huge big move up, so quite lucky on the way that we got the entry point and managed to get out on the way up quite quickly. So it was a quick trade before. This, like I say, just like all the others, I'm not expecting any of these to be quick trades. These are by potential, you know, maybe bottoms, but look, this looks relatively deceiving. We think about buying here with a potential move up to, you know, let's just say up here, so it's talking 300-400%. You do risk coming all the way down at 46% as well, so there is huge risk and huge reward. That's why I'm referring to all of these as shitcoins at the moment. But with it, you know, shitcoins can generate some serious moves. So like all the others, it's climbing out of the depths of despair on the 4-hourly. It's got bullish divergence on the daily. The weekly, it's not really relevant, it's too young to really say, but there is divergence on the MACD, so it's suggesting over the long term could end up being a big turnaround. Last but not least, the ultimate shitcoin of all, the one that gets me a lot of nasty comments when I call it a shitcoin. And look, it is a shitcoin right now. There's no denying it. I mean, look at the state of it. It's a shitcoin right now. I don't want it to be a shitcoin. I want it to work out, and this is why I've spoken about this. This must be about 4th, 5th, 6th video I've made on BitRue. There's opportunity in these shitcoins. This is trading at $200,000 24-hour period. You know, in the past when this one caught, you know, it caught its big move, it was being, I don't know, part of maybe not a pump group, but it caught a lot of traction on social media, Reddit basically. They were going crazy for it, and it was mental. Now, I had mates who traded it during this period, and they are not very happy at the moment. I'm making, well, I didn't buy this yesterday. I bought this a few weeks back as it approached these levels down here. The reason for it, this is where we did a double bottom on the market. Now, I'm relatively, you know, upside bias at the moment. I do think that despite the bulls and the bears having almost an even shot at making these moves, my bias is certainly to the up, right? And so looking at this chart, we come down to this historical low once again, and when it turned around from this level, I didn't manage to catch it. It was one of the first movers, and it had a serious move from this level up to here. It did a 460% move in a really short space of time. That we bottomed here, tried it again here. This is my entry point here, and we've already started to move. Now, this is nothing really. It's nothing. It's not really anything. I mean, it's a 50% move, so obviously that's nice, but it's not really anything. We're still within one of these huge descending triangles, a consolidation pattern. Even if we went from down here to the top, you know, we're looking for several 100%, and that would be your first exit point for obvious reasons. You know, we're not expecting a breakout. A breakout would be nice. You take your investment out first of all, see what happens after that, and that way whatever you've got riding could essentially be a millionaire to start a kit, but you also have taken your investment out, so you're not actually going to lose anything. So let's have a look at the momentum shifting on this. It's not very convincing on the MACD. RSI, bullish divergence to the max, just like everything else. This is a little older, so we can have a look at the weekly, but we're going to have to take off some of these indicators, because otherwise it makes the chart look like that, because we've got this stupid wick like that. And what do we see? Turning up a little bit here on the momentum, and yeah, not got a positive cross, but the histogram, like all these others, a very oversold zone with positive histograms week after week after week after week, suggesting that, you know, if this does decide it wants to move, it can move pretty dramatically, and it'll turn around to a large extent. Again, we have to wait for the alt season criteria to fulfill, And at the moment we don't have any of that, so we're making educated guesses at lows, fully expecting Bitcoin to outperform these in the short term in an upside. And if Bitcoin pulls back from here, you know, we can write off any kind of profit for a long time on these things. They can get seriously wrecked. So these are the shitcoins of the century. I'm not expecting you to follow what I'm talking about and go in and buy these blindly. You've got to make your own thoughts. These come with more risks than anything else. Remember, none of these have actual buy signals on them, and so with that, you shouldn't expect immediate upside, or maybe not even any upside at all. What I'm talking about overall is that the market is pointing to a specific direction for altcoins. Bitcoin, I believe, is more likely to break out than down. And so with that in mind, these areas could be particularly, they could be the actual lows. We could just hover around at these particular levels while Bitcoin breaks out. We've seen that before, and then once Bitcoin has done its thing, the alt season criteria from the Bitcoin dominance chart or the total 2 or total 3 charts also meet their criteria, and it's a bit more obvious that an alt season is likely. At the moment it's not. We will likely, if anything, at best we will follow Bitcoin and we will move with the market will move as one, and that's one possibility. But for a sustained alt season, don't really have those kind of criteria. But for particular levels of interest, mouth-watering lows with massive divergence forming on long-term time frames and low trading volume for these, well, for want of a better word, shitcoins, huge gains could be made over a period of time. So got to be in it to win it. And I certainly am. Anyway, I'm going to leave it with you there. I hope you have a nice weekend. We'll see how Bitcoin performs throughout the rest of the day. Hopefully it goes sideways and static, or maybe just a little bit up. And then next week will be a bit more of an interesting week. It can even come down next week and we'll be okay. So come down and then go up, or it could just go straight up. Either way, there's a big move brewing for Bitcoin any minute. You know, it could happen right this second. It could happen today. It could happen any time. The big move is pending. And I'm looking to hopefully get on the right side of that, taking educated guesses for these altcoins at their lows, but mostly, like I say, the focus is on Bitcoin, generally speaking. Right, thanks for watching, guys. If you want to join the Patreon, 2 live streams a week, links in the description. Otherwise, have a nice weekend, take it easy.